September 9th, 2023. I want to discuss some issues relating to the whistleblower David Grusch and some of the things that have been going on. Um, I think this will that have happened. Um, One thing I've been noticing on some conversations I've had, particularly on the space show, which I'm a frequent caller, and two or three different instances with some pretty sharp people there that were guests. And the thing I keep noticing from there, and also in commentators in the news as well, that I think there seemed to be some misunderstanding of the situation there. Um, I keep hearing the idea, well, he doesn't have firsthand knowledge, and he just heard something, and that's not adequate. I mean, and this includes, some comments that Avi Loeb made on some of his appearances on podcasts, and so forth. And what I'd like to say about this is that I think they're missing the point. This First of all, the whistleblower complaint came largely because of the fact that as he was assigned to the UAP task force, which was an organization that existed prior to Arrow, and at that time had totally different management than the current Arrow group has. He was given the assignment to check out these rumors that there were such crash retrievals of alien craft. I'll just use that term for him. And basically, he originally, as I understand, entered this with a general attitude that's pretty much the same as the skeptics. That what kind of Mickey Mouse assignment have I got stuck with here? But apparently, he soon found out that there were people that he'd known in the intelligence community. I guess he was in things like the National Reconnaissance Office and Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which were dealing a lot with satellite intelligence. So these would be the kind of people that might run into this sort of thing, and found out that, yeah, actually there really is something to this. And that's how he got into making these contacts with people, some of whom apparently eventually found someone that actually witnessed this directly, if I understand it correctly. So that's not quite the same thing as just hearsay evidence. I mean, we're not talking about using this in a court of law to put somebody in prison for life or something like that. We're talking about using it to establish more like probable cause to launch an investigation or to pursue an investigation. So I think that's one thing that seems to be missed in here a little bit. Again, if you like these videos, please give me a like, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Yeah, and so that's the kind of thing that that I think is being misunderstood a little bit. Now, in addition to that, apparently, what led to him becoming a whistleblower wasn't so much that he wanted to be one of these, but because of his investigations, he started receiving pushback and retaliation, I guess, in his home agency, and that led to him eventually to defend himself, filing the whistleblower complaint, which apparently there is an authorized procedure for this within the intelligence community, and he didn't go to the Arrow group because there was some suspicions that the Arrow group wasn't really fully on board at the point, and I'm not going to go into that too much, but that was what he thought. There are other people that feel that way as well, and other people have gone forward the Arrow group and made their testimonies. So this to say that he just chose to go to the Inspector General of the intelligence community instead, and filed his complaint, which led to an investigation, and the Inspector General also interviewed some of these other people. Now, the other thing that I think that seems to be that's not overlooked a little bit is that all this stuff involves statements essentially like under oath or like under the False Statement Act, which would be a felony offense if you're lying about it. I mean, if there's any kind of willful misrepresentation, that in these cases, these people would be bringing themselves into serious consequences. And another thing that we have to understand is that these people, from what we understand, are all intelligence professionals. This isn't some, stray homeless person on the street out in LA or something that said they saw something. These people all have top secret SCI clearances and accesses to various special programs. So, you know, these are fairly, responsible type people who are unlikely to want to go off and do something like this. And even when you see in government things of this sort happening where there is misrepresentation, there usually is a political purpose behind it, such as, for instance, the 51 former intelligence members or whatever who denied the Hunter Biden laptop was real and said it was Russian propaganda. But that was done for a political motive. These were all people who really didn't want Donald Trump to become president again, didn't want to be reelected. In this case, I don't know that any kind of political motivation seems to be applicable in this case. So I think that's another thing to consider. Just because one thing, is suspicious doesn't mean everything is. And I think that there's a lot of people are overgeneralizing here in the sense that anyhow, I think that I hope that makes it a little bit more clear what the situation is with respect to this and how this should be viewed. This information, of course, has been provided to the staff of the intelligence committees and to those members who really wanted to know about it. I understand that several members have not really availed themselves of the appropriate information for whatever reason. And that's probably is political because they don't want to get involved in a subject that's kind of a little off the beaten path like this. The other problem we've run into is that it seems that that Mike Turner, I believe, is representative of from Ohio, the home district. I think it's the 10th district, I believe, of the where the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is located, which is kind of center of the storm here to some degree. He seems to be really pushing back and has got with the chairman of the oversight committee and is arguing no more hearings on this. At least that's the latest as of the time I'm recording this, and I suspect it will be by the time you hear it. I don't think it's likely to change. And so we'll have to see what happens. Now, on the other hand, the Senate has really moved ahead. Senator Schumer has, of course, with a Republican colleague, has introduced a resolution which pretty much is a kind of a culmination of the Senate's work on this, I think, arguing for creation of a 9-member panel to review this and give them certain deadlines to various agencies and contractors that have information or materials related to this subject to come forward and provide this information. And I guess this is the deadlines are based on when the Defense Authorization Act becomes law. So we'll have to see what becomes of that. I think the real test that's coming forward, I believe, is will the House include that in their version of it, or will it be included into the compromise between the two bodies that will go to the president, or will it die in committee? I think that is a real issue here and a real risk, given that the House side leadership doesn't seem to be very supportive at this point. And by the way, this is still bipartisan because the Republicans, Marco Rubio, a senator from Florida, definitely a solid Republican, has been pretty outspoken on the issue comparatively. And I think Mark Warner has also been supportive, as is Senator Gillibrand on armed services. But it looks like on the House side, there's a little more resistance. I don't know what this is about. Officially, I think they've said they think this will embarrass the Defense Department. But at any rate, that's what's been said. I wonder, it also can get into people's religious, philosophic viewpoints. Could have something to do with this. I believe that at the time that Lou Elizondo was working on the beginning of ATIP, I think at the time a senior person in the DIA was, I think, General Boykin, who was a very devoutly religious man, and and thought that I believe that's the person that he was referring to, who was thought these things were demonic in nature and should be not messed with or something. So, I mean, those kind of issues could be playing on some of the individuals. I don't know anything about Representative Turner, so I have no idea what his thought process is, or whether he's simply representing the point of view of those people in the program and related to it that are knowledgeable, who believe this should remain secret. And so that's another aspect of this, because I saw there's a Joe Rogan podcast on this, with Jeremy Corbell was on it, and they're he's saying there that people he's talked to, he's met people apparently they're in the program, and I'm still shocked that they're talking to a person like this in the public domain, because on programs of that sort, that you're not, well, at any rate, allegedly, and they're saying no, this should remain secret, and they seem to think there's strong reasons for it. Whereas people like myself that would, kind of like to know whether or not we're being visited by aliens or whatever. And I think it would also be good for the scientific community in a broader sense to have access to what information is available, so we can kind of get away from this denial thing if it's false, and get on with more effective research. Because the feeling I have is that the compartmentalization has really stifled any real understanding of this, although it may be incomprehensible anyhow. We'll have to see on that. But anyway, that seems to be where we are right now. So I think anybody that's interested obviously should contact their members of the House and Senate, and push for this Schumer amendment to be included in the Defense Authorization Act, so that we can get on with the process. And so, normally, if you've seen my other videos, I'm no fan of Senator Schumer in general, and I'm totally so this. But the fact of the matter is, this is what's, it says bipartisan. He does have a Republican co-sponsor, and like I mentioned, Rubio and other people, are on board with this. It's hard to know what's going on with the opposition, other than perhaps the embarrassment itself. It's perhaps that it's my understanding that the Gang of Eight is not cleared in this information, and they're not being briefed on it in general, at least in terms of these recovery programs. Now, whether or not they may have briefings along the lines of what the committees have already have been presented by Arrow, where you get to see videos of some objects and stuff like that, which are still classified because of the sensor platform or the event that led to it being recorded, and that complication has kept it in a secure area. But so they've seen some things, but I don't know that they know anything about the stuff Grusch was talking about, other than what we know publicly, except for the people probably on the Intelligence Committee, perhaps. And not all of them, because I don't believe all of them have been willing to be apprised of it. So anyway, I just thought I want to add a little perspective on this subject, and hope that maybe with Congress getting back into work here, that maybe we can get some progress, although they're going to be tied up with a budget here, and whether or not to launch various investigations, impeachment investigations. There's so many people to investigate, it's hard to decide which one, right? So anyway, but that may kind of be a hindrance that won't be at the top of the priority list for them. But anyway, I think that kind of hits the issues I wanted to cover here, and just to kind of get a perspective of how to look at this. To me, the fact that the Inspector General has investigated and has forwarded to Congress as critical and urgent says to me it's really kind of confirmed. But at least that there's something big here that's being hidden, and it has to do with some kind of retrieved objects, which apparently are not of human manufacture. I mean, I guess it could turn out that this has been all bogus, but my sense is I can't see how. It's kind of like, I look at it this way from a certain point of view, that when some adverse information comes out in this sort of world, which is politically adverse to what I'm supporting, and I get the feeling that this is brewing, and it hasn't yet been confirmed yet. I got that sinking feeling it's going to come out, and turn this around in this way. I think the same thing. That's my sense on this. Anyway, by the way, I will post this on Rumble as well, and of course the address to my social media accounts are in the description below, and we will end this video for now.